Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Keys family. We've got a great one in store for you today. It's our first guest in this specific industry, and you all know how excited I get about that. We have the one and only Pete Alcide with us. He is a filmmaker, and you may have seen some of his work on Prime Video. I know I have. Let's dive in. There's so much I want to cover, so many questions I have. Pete, tell us who you are, tell us what you do.
As mentioned, I am Pete Alcide. I'm a filmmaker. I write, direct. I've done some of the other ones too, but when I first started, I've specialized more into writing and directing for the most part. I started since I was young, actually.
Mm.
My parents always try to expose me to as much as possible, and I've been I've been known to do a lot of different things to, not only just the one thing I like, but certain things that I want to experience just to see what I do in them. And and I can say I'm somewhat versed in quite a few things,
Mhm.
depends on the need. But since I was 10, I was in a play as King Solomon. That was my very first
Oh,
role
wow.
to play King Solomon in the youth organization we were putting on display. And since then, I was on stage and I just went through length to make sure it was perfect, did everything from the costume to my performance. I've always enjoyed it, and I knew that was one of the things I enjoyed a lot. So not only just being in front of people, but creating the art of telling a story. That was always
Mm.
a thing that I was always into. So I of course I went to college. I went to different places for schooling, but I always came back and got back into the root of it. So me and a few friends, we started a production a little while ago. Let's say maybe 2016, and age no 2006. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So it started in 2006, and we were doing different weddings and things like that. But then, I wasn't really too much into doing the wedding part, having to deal with the brides. It was,
Whoa.
I mean, I admire them, but I just couldn't do it because
Yeah, yeah.
it was just a little bit much. But we had a whole team. Some of the guys were more into it than others, so everybody had their own parts. But anyway, but then some of the guys had their own family issues, so we sort of had to split for a little while. But I
Mhm.
didn't want to just sit down and do nothing, so I started my own thing, and
Yeah.
that's when I started doing a lot of short films and do festivals and things like that, and it was coming back really good, So it sort of motivated me to keep doing more. And then that brought me to my latest project that I did, feature film. And the story itself was such a good one. I didn't want to just do it as a short film and just let it go to waste. I started it in 2015, and
Mm.
and it was we traveled different places, Florida, Haiti, Atlanta, to film it, and we finished everything, but then it took forever to actually get someone's attention, to actually give it the proper release. So it was just a hassle trying to hustle everywhere, talking to everybody, but the right stuff never came along just until earlier this year.
Wow.
This year, after calling so many people, somebody returned my call and said, "You know what? I like the set. I watched it. I enjoyed it, and I think there's an audience that might enjoy it."
Mhm.
And then it started there. So I had to call back all the actors, let them know what we're doing. We're trying to see if we can do some promotions for this, and yeah, and then yeah, there we go.
Here
And
we
now it's
go.
out
Here
on
we
Amazon Prime. Yeah.
So you started working on it in 2015. So that tells me a lot of patience is required in this industry. A whole lot. And we're going to dive into what that looks like in more detail. But for 2 seconds, like take me back. So you were 10 years old, you were in a play as King Solomon. And it was sort of at that point, you're being, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Your parents were encouraging you, right? Your family support was there and they were encouraging you to kind of follow this path. and introduced you to opportunities to do so. Um, is that really like from that point on, you knew this was what you wanted to do?
From that point, I was always passionate about it. Now, my parents introduced you to everything, but they're not expecting you to do everything.
Ah,
They always wanted me to actually be in the medical field.
okay. Got
So,
it.
with that in mind, and of course, they want you to be exposed and have that culture,
Right.
have part of the conversation if it does come up, but they don't want you to. They still want to try to focus you towards where they feel that you deserve to be, or based on their own status.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, the love grew there. The thing is, I got exposed to it and I just got attached to it.
Yeah.
Everything I needed, I tried to do. I was always coming back to that, either drawing, designing, creating something, either
Hmm.
coaching something or creating a drama group, which I've had a few over the years, depends on where we are. We try to develop something, try to get something out. And it was always something that I'm passionate about, regardless what I was doing.
Hmm.
I do have a PhD in psychology. And I've taught in schools, I did this and that, but I've always tried to integrate that into it one way or another until I was able to, what, this is what I need to do, and just
Yeah.
move forward with it. Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into this PhD in psychology, because I want to hear, and I want the community to hear more about your educational journey, right? So you knew there was a passion and an interest in one space,
Mhm.
yet you decided to, go to college, as I think we all should, go to
Mm.
college. Um, and then what happened? So what was your first major? How did you end up going the route of a PhD in psychology? Talk to me about just the educational journey.
All right. So I first went to, as a freshman, I was a biology major.
Okay.
And then I realized, okay, yeah, we're studying the inside, but I'm more interested in the projection on the outside as far as how people behave, why people do certain things, how the brain function as opposed to what the composition is. So of course, so by the end of first semester, I switched my major to psychology and criminal justice because those seems to work out uh,
Hmm.
pretty well. And of course, I had my trials where I wanted to change my major to pre-law, all these different things,
Oh
but
yeah.
I didn't actually change it. It's just different life situation that happened. I sort of wanted to do those because trying to fight for justice type of thing and try to help. But then, I stuck with psychology and finished psychology. After you finish, no, in my high school, they never told me that a bachelor's wasn't enough. So, but especially when it comes to psychology. So after I
Yeah.
finished, okay, great. All the jobs I'm getting requested for are minimum wage. Now, while I'm trying to get a job, of course, I'm still trying to focus. Okay, yes, I always like to write short stories, different things like that. So I knew that was in me, but of course you have to pay the bills one way or another.
Absolutely.
So I did okay. So I just went and got a master's degree. Even from there, after I came back from there, I got this job where I was working with a lot of veterans and stuff like that, and a lot of people with mental health issues.
Hmm.
So that also sort of gave me the idea to do forensic psychiatry. So I got my PhD in I got a master's in community counseling. I have a PhD in community in psychology, forensic psychology. Anyway, so
I got it. I'm following.
forensic science and with a concentration in psychology. So from there, now I finished and I got a job, but the satisfaction as to what I'm doing with my life wasn't really
Yeah.
100%. So a few friends of mine that we did have drama groups and stuff like that. So we decided to start one afterwards. While we're working, try to live a life, but also trying to pursue another passion and see what can become of it. So we were doing that and for a couple of years, we traveled all over New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts to perform for different stories and stuff like that. And we were enjoying it. And then a friend of mine who was starting a production company wanted to meet with us because since we were doing our acting part and he knew the business part of it, so
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to talk. So we sat down talking, why not merge? So we sort of merged and started doing a little upscale now. We put on different shows for people in the community to come see, and we would go and do some work for weddings. That's when we started doing that in order to create a capital to make a bigger project.
Mm-hmm.
And that was working out for a little while until we sort of had to pause.
Or yeah.
That pause sort of uh, you know encouraged me to continue because I didn't want to just sit down and wait until so I kept going alone and started getting a couple other guys, and then we went from there. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so the PA film had several names, uh, trying to make sure it's unique and it's different and still stick out. That it's in itself is a process. So I had different names over the years until I kind of settled with PA films. I kind of helped out a little better to just concentrate and knowing, okay, yeah, this is what I am now, and then starting the bigger projects. And I was always doing short films for different film festivals: New York, Connecticut, Atlanta, Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
These are some of the ones we've actually been recognizing. So I'm definitely appreciative of that. And then, of course, that encouraged me to go bigger. And
Yeah.
so 2015 came, I started writing after the earthquake had happened 5 years prior. So
Mm-hmm.
having experienced that with a lot of friends, family, and people that I knew closely, we were able to I put the script together, got it reviewed around 2015, filmed it in 2017, and then didn't get recognized until this year.
Wow.
So
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you this. Um, you shifted gears and or rephrase, shifted your focus after your PhD, right? Now you're full blown into film.
mm,
Um, who did you have along the way to encourage you? Who in the industry said, you know what, keep going. There's an opportunity. Keep going. Did you have mentors? Did you have anyone, encouraging you along the way? And if not, because I know that's not always the case, um, what was it that convinced you to keep going? Because again, this is something that has taken time, right? You've got to be committed to it. It's been years since you recorded this last film.
yeah.
Yeah, talk to me about mentorship and coaching and guidance along the way.
Well, well, as far as mentorship, I've my mentor was somewhat non-existent, but still there. Well, I look at other filmmakers who started sort of the same way. They have a degree. Man, I was hoping I didn't forget his name now, but he's the
It
one
happens.
that he's never escaped me every now and then. But he's the one who makes the movie with Denzel Washington. When they have when he was from the military and uh, it's
It'll
kind
come
of
back.
it'll come to me.
Yeah.
Particularly him because he was biochemist. He was doing his thing,
Oh,
and
wow.
but his passion was always into film too, and he's a switch here. So and there's a couple other ones too, but him I've been following him for a little while, mainly because we sort of have the same story going on. We're focused on something that we thought was going to be our life, but meanwhile, in the back of our head, we were introduced to something else that sort of drive us to want to continue. I guess, in a way, he was somewhat my mentor, even if he didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But I would watch every interviews of him, every movies he's made, and all that stuff, just because I was always into him, the way his life changed. Uh,
Hmm.
but as far as my family, always really. they don't deny it. They don't say, okay, yeah, here, go do this, go do that. They don't necessarily push physically or, give me, but if I say I want to do this, they don't discourage it.
Okay. Yep.
And I have siblings who are somewhat in business. Like my youngest brother, he's the one who sung most of my soundtracks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we sort of brainstorm a lot about it when I have to do something, when I need to do something, and when I say, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do the track. He's like, okay, no problem. He'll, as a matter of fact, I have a new project I'm filming, hopefully in the next 6 months. He hasn't sung in a couple of years, but he's more than willing to jump back in the booth and make a couple of songs for me. And I enjoy that. I have a couple of cousins too, so I try to keep it close so that I don't get disappointed, because when you extend it so far, especially in the beginning, it gets a little tough. Depending on people who don't necessarily know how important your passion is to you,
Yeah,
it
I
gets a
get
little
it.
frustrating. So, and having experienced that too, because there are a couple of people, when I first got the movie done, I was trying to see if I can reach out to see, you would hear from them today, you don't hear it tomorrow or ever after that. And things, kind of get escalated, and it can be discouraging.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my family, although they're not necessarily on set saying, here's, here, you should do this, you should do that, but they don't necessarily discourage the idea when I bring them up. I never had to be scared to say, oh yeah, I want to do this instead. Like, dude, you have vision in this, you should be doing this. I get it, but I've taught in schools, and I get my students to do things that have to do with film production.
Wow.
Sort of included in the lesson in a way. So,
Yeah.
at least I'm still trying to, at least, I guess, I don't know, just feeling that the atmosphere that I'm still in that area. So, but yeah.
Let me ask you a question. So I'm full of questions now.
Oh,
So there's a student somewhere in a classroom, or in their dorm room or at home, non-traditional students as well, listening to this. And maybe they're, an English major because they weren't really sure, or they might be a psych major. Um, they want to go into film. They want to go that route and pursue that passion. In terms of what you would recommend, knowing what you know now, right? Do you think it makes sense to remain in that track? And I imagine every story is different. I'm just trying to get a feel for biology to psychology, right? All the way to PhD. Do you ever think I probably should have stopped and switched majors to, I don't know, art or something, whatever it might be? And this is just me being curious, right? What are your thoughts around your major in school? And I have my own thoughts. As a recruiter and an HR professional who's had probably 5 or 6 majors, yeah, that was me. So tell me a little bit about your thoughts around the formal education piece going into film.
well, I would say, okay, it depends. If you are in a field that can lead to film,
Mm-hmm.
at least get the bachelor's degree so you can at least have a somewhat of a, because when you're writing, you need some type of lesson. And I've realized my writing improved a lot when I was in school. When I
Yeah.
was, as you can see with my accent, I wasn't born in the country.
Right.
So I definitely take it seriously when I'm writing. And my writing got a lot better in college because they make you think, creatively in a
Mm-hmm.
way. And I did have an English literature class that I enjoyed quite a bit, and it definitely helps. So I wouldn't say leave school and go do it. Now, if you know this is what you want to do, you definitely want to keep your major towards somewhat around film production, if that's what you're trying to pursue. Now, the thing is, my mistake was that I stuck with psychology all in. Now, I don't want to call it a mistake because I do use my field to not only to help me with casting, but
Mm.
also it helps when I'm actually directing, because you have
Oh, yeah.
an actor who's trying to get somewhere, instead of taking my time to walk them through it, I can skip a few steps and actually get them to it. If I need somebody to cry, based on our previous conversation, we can try to tap into some of those experiences to help you get there a lot faster. So it helps in the psych field. But if you get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree already, if you're already done, you want to make the switch, great. But you would need to get a PhD or even a master's degree to pursue film right after that, because you accumulate a lot of debts already. I do have some loans that I'm still paying for.
Yes.
But so I basically try to think about what you really want and why do you feel like, okay, if you need to make the step right there. I mean, I wish I made the switch sooner, but I don't wish that I went to college altogether. So if you're a freshman or sophomore, try to take some courses that will help you with your writing and your performance as whatever it is that you're trying to adapt in the film industry. But I wouldn't necessarily just drop it all altogether, because education is always important. You can never really go wrong once you've educated yourself in different fields. It's just, how is it relevant to what you're planning on doing moving forward? If you can attach them together, great. If you can't, all right. Thing is, I switched from biology to psychology because I realized the whole idea of just being a medical doctor wasn't as appealing to me as my family thought it was. But I would mind being a different doctor, working with a psych patient who needs certain help. As a matter of fact, my next film is going to be about mental health. So it's going to focus not only based on a patient that I've dealt with before, closely based to, but not necessarily about the person, but it's just to introduce the mental health problem that a lot of people have had, but not necessarily dealt with, or it might, and it's not one of those popular ones. So it is something that's gonna somewhat be connected with some people, but raise the curiosity for others. So yeah, in other words, as far as the connection in school, if it's something that you are into, try to make the connection with what you're doing right now in school. If it has nothing to do with this, like for example, someone who wants to be a psychologist and studying finance, it's not gonna, so it's gonna be a little hurdle to make the transition. But try to see how you can make the connection with what you really want to do in life with the classes you're taking now. Because I know, as when I was a professor, a lot of students came to school because parents told them to, not because they really wanted to be there. You're wasting a lot of money there for no reason.
Time and money. That's like, one of my thoughts around, how I hope this podcast helps others in our community. And that's the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, usually, right? Not necessarily when we're talking career paths, but usually a straight line. How can we get you there with more intention, less debt, less time? And I say that as someone, like I said, who's had multiple majors, trying to figure out, okay, how do I get to do what I want to do? And I knew many, many, many years ago, HR was my passion from back, I don't know, high school days. And then I went to Bronx Community College to work, not to attend, but to work, and started helping others find jobs. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then somehow, right? Like somehow, I don't know, you get off track, bills need to be paid, children need to be raised. And it's always feels good when you can come back to something you're passionate about, right? And that's my hope for others, to sort of empower them, tell them what their options are in the industry, how to get there, so that they can, do something they're passionate about. We don't want to waste time or money. It's all precious at this point.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Before I forget,
Yeah.
Antoine Fuqua, that's who
Yes. How could you forget that?
His name comes in and out, especially when I need it the most.
Yes. Yeah, he's so awesome. He's so awesome. So question, someone wants to get their foot in the door. How do they find a mentor? How do they get connected? Are there certain groups they should join? Um, Talk to me a little bit about the networking piece and the foot in the door piece.
All right, so that one is simple yet can be complicated.
Okay.
So when I first started, I really, especially when I was doing it alone, I wanted to. Okay, I took some courses for filmmaking. I followed a lot of different seminars in person. Spend some money just to get some of the theoretical aspect of it.
Mhm.
But then you need to see what it's like on set because even in the classes they tell you, yeah, it's not the same. Being in the field is always better.
Yeah.
Is always better way to learn and easier to really maintain certain things. So I signed up to be an extra, do background work in some movies. So especially in
Mhm.
the area, I was going down there all the time just to be on the set, try to observe and learn different things, and met a lot of actors. Actually, there's one of the actors he's the principal actor in the movie
Mhm.
that I met him on the set there.
Oh, wow.
So you got to meet a lot of people. And from there, you get to make some connections. Casting directors, if you're doing the thing right, you get to have a conversation with them and you create some connections there. But also when they're doing film events like festivals and stuff like that, going there to not only is just support other filmmakers, but to meet different people in the industry helps. And usually as you go, you'll meet someone who is somewhat on the same wavelength as you, and you guys just keep talking and continue and you stay in connection, and that also helps. And it also helps when you have to create something that can help you find other people, and that's one of the ways I get actors. So I would work with a couple of actors. If we have a good connection, I would let them know when I'm having the next project, and then
Mhm.
not only we would use them, but also use other people that they know that they can vouch for on the set too. So that way
Mhm.
you have a whole community that you're creating, and without having to do way too much. Um, now, I've met a few filmmakers. I'm drawing blank on names today, but this guy, he was the assistant director for Spike Lee
Okay.
for a while, and we met in Atlanta at a film. We were both all showing our short films there, and we got to chat, and we just stay in connection from there. And
Mhm.
and now whenever I'm doing something, I let him know, and he would just give the support. And he's if I had to discuss something about whether it's an editing thing or how to create certain things that I wasn't sure about, or something new because he's dealt with a lot more on the set than I have. So we would just chat about it a little bit and then see where we can go from there. So the main thing is don't underestimate who you meet because
Mm.
sometimes those same
Yeah.
people would have so many different connections. I remember I was doing a short film and this young lady was on the set with me, but she was underage and her dad was there, and her dad actually knew a lot of people in the industry. So when we finished the film, not only he told me, oh yeah, I appreciate the way you treat the actors, this and that, and he also recommended me to some of the other people he knew in the industry, and that actually helped quite a bit because that short film actually got into a festival and won.
Nice.
So it's been one of those things. You make the connections and you be professional about it, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Anybody you meet can be another connection to where you're trying to get to.
Mhm. Building that community, right? And so let me ask you this. You've shared quite a bit with us in this 30-minute span. So much. And I think back to the informal mentorship of Antoine, who doesn't know, right? Like he doesn't know. But now he knows, hopefully. What's I guess one major key you could share with our community, right? So for the student listening, and they're like, okay, this is the encouragement I needed. This is the conversation I needed. I understand it's going to take patience. what's one major key, something I can start doing today, that'll get me one step closer to in a career in film? What do you think that might be?
Well, I would say key word, I would say phrase is don't stop.
Mm,
Because one of the things I learned is that when you start and you stop, you're waiting, then it just sort of delays your
yeah.
success or your process. When I started doing short films, I would do short films all the time. Just with that, even with that, you sort of create a fan base. Because a lot of people who saw my film when it first came out, or people who knew when I was doing short films, and I would do a premiere, whether I do it online or I do it at a location, they would come out and support it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I kept doing short films. I kept writing. I kept doing episodic stuff. I have quite a few things on YouTube. So that sort of created a fan base right there. When I dropped the trailer for the movie, it had a lot of likes and views right off the bat because those same people have always been watching some of the stuff you do, and you kind of have a connection with them, and they're expecting something new, something different from you. So
Mm-hmm.
try to keep your head going, and like we know, everything we do by practice, the more we do it, the more we're better at it. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, just keep it going. Don't stop because honestly, after I filmed the movie and I realized it wasn't being picked up, I did a couple of short films. I participated in some festivals in Atlanta, and I did this web series that people, with several episodes that people just enjoyed. So,
Yeah.
so when I told them it was coming out on Amazon, we had a good turnout for people to actually watch it because
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on some stuff they enjoyed before, and why not this one? And this one sort of impressed a lot of people too when it came down to it because they were waiting for at least something bigger. Because I did a lot of shorts. This was my first feature film.
Yeah.
I'm glad it went that far, and the story was so important to me. I didn't want it to just fall through the cracks. So
Yeah, absolutely. Such an important story to share. And I'm so glad you didn't stop. I'm so glad you stuck with it and kept going. And I think that's important for others to hear, right? Because there are going to be moments where you're getting discouraged, like, oh, this is not happening fast enough. No one's picking up on it,
mm,
like no one loves what I'm putting down. But someone does, and you
yeah,
continue to foster that community and you keep going.
yeah, because when I came out and earlier this or late last year after I had the conversation and we were working on the process for it to come out this year,
Hmm.
a lot of people when I started putting out, they said, "Wait, you're still doing this? This movie's still there? I mean, it's
Yes.
been on the shelf, but it hasn't been gone because." Even some of the actors sort of give up on it. When I told them, "Well, yeah, I kind of need you to resign your contract or resign your your for me to release it, your release form and all that stuff."
Hmm.
A lot of them they were somewhat confused, thinking, "Okay, I guess that was it. We're done." But
Yeah.
I told them,
Not
no,
working with you.
I don't give up on things I really believe in. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how hard it is. I just keep going. I try to find different routes for it to get there, but eventually it's gonna get there. And I'm just happy that it did at least get there. And we're hoping to go even further with it because a few other networks are looking to jump on the wagon. So I'm just happy about that.
Keep going. Don't stop. Don't
Yeah.
stop. There's a need for what you're creating. Um, and like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. So keep going. Keep telling the stories because folks like me are listening and hungry for more. I'm actually excited about your next film about mental health because I don't think, I think now we're starting to have more of those conversations in pockets, but
Yeah.
I'd love for it to be more of a consistent conversation in our communities. And I just don't think we're there yet. And so I'm looking forward to what you create and present us with next.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So tell us how to find you, how to follow you, I already know how to find the movie. Did that. But tell the folks how to support you and stay connected.
All right, so I'm on Amazon. Well, okay, Amazon for the movie.
Yes.
If you just type Lupeo, it should come up. And you can check it there. It's also on Vimeo also for now. Now it's supposed to go to Peacock and a couple of network TV and possibly Netflix. Now that one is not 100% yet, but we're still in the talk.
Let's speak
So
it into existence. I love
so
this.
so we're hoping for that, hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah.
For those. Now I am on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Yes.
So basically, my name is Official PA Films.
Okay.
At Official PA Films. I'm on all those social media with the same one, Twitter, all of
Hmm.
them, just to make it easier at Official PA Films, and that there you can follow me and I'll follow back. That way you'll see everything that I post I have going on. I just posted the casting list for the new project.
Hmm.
We're just accepting submissions right now, and then hopefully we're gonna very soon, probably in a couple of months' time, we're gonna try to do face-to-face audition and then go from there. But yeah, so
It's exciting. And I'm so honored to have you here to chat with us today. Like, oh, little old me. Like,
uh,
this is
it's a
awesome.
pleasure for me because I try to do a few podcasts. And the thing is, there's very few podcasts who are talking about films, and maybe they're not coming my way. But yeah, so I try to do a podcast just at least to let people know the story. And for me, given that it was my first major one, and I try to I invested everything in it, and I tried to make sure the story is told.
Yeah.
So I told that we're distributing it, but of course, the distribution company sort of wanted to put money on it. So I told them just put as little possible. That way, because they have to get paid one or another.
Hmm.
But for me, it's really them reading, watching that story because it's based on a specific family that that went through it up close instead of what we watch on the news. That was my
Yeah.
main goal for it. And so far, I've been getting a lot of good reviews with people, either those who experienced it head on, they sort of give them a reminder of what went down. And of course, I do know a couple of people who say they couldn't watch it, but they appreciate the story being out there.
Mm,
No, because this guy, he couldn't watch it himself by himself. He watched it with his wife later on, but
yeah.
he couldn't watch it by himself because he was there when he experienced it. So, but he wrote me a letter saying that he appreciated that because other friends of his who watched it told him about it, and they were more sympathetic than
Hmm.
oh man, that happened. We'll watch it on the news and it's over.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I'm just
That's
encouraging everybody.
understandable, though.
Yeah.
Um,
So
the story needed to be told, and I'm glad you shared it with the world. My hope is that more folks get to see the movie. Um, it's touching, so I can understand how um, individuals who were there front and center just might struggle a bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but it's so awesome. So
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you. Continue to do all that you're doing. As you said, don't stop.
Mhm.
Don't stop. I'm looking forward to continue to cheer you on. I'd love to have you back when you're ready to talk about the next project. I'm actually excited about it because I think we need to have more conversations, like I said, about mental health. So looking forward to that. Everyone go follow him on social so you can stay in touch. And like you said, he released the list for the next film. Hey! So thank you again. Thank you so much for your time. We will be in touch. And like I said, I need to have you back.
Definitely, definitely. I'd be more than happy to. And maybe next time we talk, I'll give you more of a synopsis about the story because I'm trying to get the actors on point first before we release more information. But yeah, it is going to be focusing and helping the audience to understand that particular mental health that is somewhat, it's not as common, but very much in the population right now. And we want to give a little more insight on how some people who have had it dealt with it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's a good story, and it's and I'm hoping a lot of people will actually learn something from it, just the same. And that's the really type of stories I want to tell.
Yeah.
Whether it's history or something based on a true story, and I kind of enjoy those. I mean, if somebody go to my YouTube and you watch all my previous things, you'll see the type of stories I tell, and whether I've even used to do some stories from the Bible, just in modern days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my favorite story that I actually just put in with another film festival. It's based on the Joseph story.
Oh, wow.
In the Bible, but in modern days, how if Joseph was adopted in a family these days, how would he have dealt with some of the hatred he was
Oh,
dealing with his own family? But yeah, it's a good story. That one is
wow.
actually subject to retaliation as well.
Okay. We gotta watch it. We
Check
gotta
it out.
watch it. That
And
sounds
please leave
awesome.
comments. Let me know, some of the things you like or don't like about it. I'm always open to new information. So
I love it. Thank you.
my pleasure.
We'll talk again soon.
I hope so.